Hαίrete friends, welcome to Classics in Color, your weekly dive into some of the ancient world's wackiest facts. I'm Mara Graves, and I will be dressing up as Medusa for Halloween this year, so I thought today I would share with you some spooky stories from the ancient world that have to do with snakes. Think of a monster from Greek mythology. Odds are pretty good that that monster's mother or grandmother or some type of ancestor was Echidna. She was a very ancient, very old goddess. It's kind of a mystery who her parents were, and I'm going to borrow a description of her from the ancient Greek poet Hesiod. Divine Echidna, the cruel of heart, she was one half a dancing-eyed nymph with beautiful cheeks, but the other half a monstrous, speckled snake, a dread, massive creature that devours raw flesh down in her lair beneath the holy earth. So Echidna is often considered sort of a mother of all the monsters, and in fact she was the mother of the king of all the monsters, Typhon, who was also part snake and was so powerful that he challenged the gods themselves. There's still a large mound of monsters in Greek mythology that are snake-related in some type of way. So to give you just a few examples, we could look at the Python. Python was a massive snake, so powerful that no mortal hero could take it on. Apollo actually had to go to battle with it. There's also the Chimera, that's 1/3 snake. There's the Hydra, which is a whole bunch of snakes all glued together. Even Cadmus apparently had to fight a giant snake that could breathe venom. More than that, though, even if we put aside all of the stories that are from mythology that have to do with gods and heroes and big important stuff, and we just look at urban legends and little folk tales, there are still so many stories that have to do with snakes being larger than life. So for example, we've got the Apis bina, which the Greeks believe, somewhere out there in the wilderness, and it was a type of snake that had heads on both ends. I have no idea where they got that one from, but it does sound very creepy. There was also the Nautilus, which is aptly named because they believed it could sort of shape-shift its body into looking like a boat and a sail. So apparently it would just sit on the water and they would raise, some part of its body up, and then it would be able to be blown wherever it wanted to go. That one actually sounds kind of cool. I wish that was a thing. And finally, I've got the Cucumis, which apparently would disguise itself so that it looked and smelled even exactly like a cucumber. Again, I don't know why. I guess maybe to lure unsuspecting humans into picking it up. The Greeks had a legend that when Perseus was flying home on his magic sandals through the air, he went over Africa, and the Medusa head that he was carrying with him dripped blood all the way, and all of her little blood drops turned into snakes. And so that was why Africa was full of extra poisonous snakes, at least according to the Greeks. Lucan, who lived much later, he's a Roman author, really played into this trope when he was describing Cato and his Roman army marching across Africa. They are absolutely terrorized by all kinds of snakes who have these ridiculous supernatural abilities. First off, Lucan describes a kind of javelin snake. So apparently this critter will coil itself up, aim itself at someone, and then it will launch itself with so much force that it can actually go right through a person. So I guess that's why he calls it like a javelin snake. Next up, there's a dehydrating snake, which doesn't actually sound too bad until you hear the full story. So apparently one of these snakes bit a soldier, and the poison from the snake made him more and more and more and more dehydrated until finally he cut open one of his own veins to drink his own blood, and eventually he just bled out and shriveled up. Finally, we have what I like to call the Willy Wonka blueberry snake. Apparently, when this one bit one of the soldiers, his whole body slowly started to swell up quite grotesquely. Eventually, his breastplate popped off because he was just swelling so much, and ultimately, he exploded. Last but not least, I'm so excited for this part of the video, we're going to look at a deliciously spooky story from Apuleius. So the story goes that there's a group of men traveling on business through the countryside. They're about to enter an area that they've never been before. As they're entering, they pass a guy coming out the other way who is a shepherd. And so they stop and they try to get him to sell them some milk and some cheese because they're hungry. And he looks at them and he says, "Don't any of you know what sort of place you've stopped in?" And he hurries on right by them. So understandably, they start to get a little uneasy. While they're having a little powwow together to decide if they should carry on or turn back, a very, very little, very old, very sweet little old man sort of sidles up to them and starts begging for help. Apparently, he and his grandson were out for a nice little walk, and his grandson fell into a deep ravine and he's injured himself, so the grandson can't crawl out and the grandpa can't get him back up. So he begs these fine young gentlemen if they will come and help him get his grandson stuck out of the hole. And most of them are still a little too unnerved by what the shepherd said, so they refuse any help. They're like, sorry, Grandpa, tough luck. But one very fine, upstanding young gentleman says, yes, of course, I'll come and I will help you. So the rest of them go back to their powwow and they decide that they are going to keep going, but first they'll stop and they'll have some lunch. So they stop and they sit down and they eat lunch and then they clean up from lunch and then they get ready to get back on the road, but the young man who went to go help still isn't back yet. So they send a messenger to go check on him and tell him to hurry the heck up. The messenger is only gone for a minute or two when he comes running back in and he is pale as a ghost and trembling. Let's read what Apuleius has to say. The messenger had actually seen the young man lying on his back, he said, almost totally devoured by an enormous snake which was leaning over him and eating him. But the wretched old man was nowhere to be seen. They then surmised that the most likely explanation is that that snake was the old man all along, that it had shape-shifting abilities and was just in disguise hunting them, and that was what the shepherd had been warning them about. So they get all their stuff together and they get out of there as quickly as they can, leaving their friend for dead. Thanks so much for watching that video, guys. Special thank you as always to subscribers and to Patreon members, and I hope to see all of you again next week. Hαίrete.